Welcome everybody to our week 6, and don't mind Jack in the background there. Say hello, Jack. He's tired. Anyway, so guys, week 6, what's due by the end? Of course, it is your argument and persuasive essay, the no research required version, meaning the one that doesn't require you to do any secondary Galileo research, which you will be doing for the next essay, the final version, the research essay for the 1101 course. But that's not this week. This week is just you arguing based on the elements of logos, ethos, and pathos, and I kind of delineate these in this week's announcement posted in Blackboard. So review those there. Also, I believe our successful composition, college composition at SCC, I believe that unit has something to say about that. And the exercises from SCC that you guys turned in by the end of this week, Sunday today, before week 6, the end of week 5, I found those to be really helpful. Offering, try to imagine the other side of the argument, different maneuvers to engage in an argument with professionalism and tact, and not sounding like you're going off the rails, just attacking the other side and denigrating or disparaging the other side. If you do that, if you're that aggressive about destroying your opposition in such a way, you're going to lose credibility as an arguer, as a rhetorician, whatever you'd like to call yourself. So just keep that in mind. You want to be well balanced and as circumspect and sober-minded as possible when you are conceiving of your approach to your topic and executing it via the paper itself, the drafting process. So I consider this, again, to be kind of the heartbeat of the term, argument and persuasion. We argue every day, daily, multiple times a day. We are, whether we know it or not, trying to convince somebody to see things our way, whether it's a political opinion or an opinion on a movie or a certain worldview we might have, okay? We are constantly competing and negotiating among others who have these same sorts of different viewpoints and worldviews and opinions, and, well, we have to talk about these things in adult, mature ways. If not, we descend into chaos. Okay, so we have conversation, we have argument for this tool of civilization, so that we could try to hear each other out, understand each other, disagree if need be, but talking is always better than fighting. Okay, I think we could pretty much all agree with that. Not a terribly controversial thing to say, I wouldn't think. So argument is crucial, okay? And a lot of you folks have come to me, emailed me, topic ideas, potential thesis ideas. Keep in mind, your thesis for this is a statement. I know a lot of you guys kind of conceived of your topics by asking a rhetorical question, okay? Should the prisoners of Guantanamo Bay be released, or should Guantanamo Bay, be done away with as a prison altogether? Okay, now remember, your answer to that question, that hypothetical question, that is your thesis. That statement is your thesis, the last sentence of your intro, which we know well enough by now. So just keep that in mind. And I've signed off on most of your topics. Some of them I needed a little more clarification. Always remember, you want your topic to be approachable, and you don't want to, like what a lot of students tend to ask every semester is, how about technology? Can I argue about maybe our over-reliance on technology? Now, technology is a huge field. It's a huge subject unto itself. So you have to have some focus within that sphere of technology. You need some point on which to focus. A particular iteration of technology, a particular product, let's say a smartphone, your iPhone, your Android. So always try to be as concrete and particular as possible in discussing your subject. So technology is, of course, too broad of a subject to kind of tackle in its entirety in a 2-page paper. Okay, so you want to cut your topic down to size, as it were. Okay, and you'll have up to 4 pages roughly for the final version, the research required version, which calls on you to look at Galileo. That's the online database in through GNTC, and by extension you all as well, to look at critical sources that you will include in helping to support your thesis. Okay, you're not doing that for this paper due on the 30th, but the final assignment in 1101, you will be required to use about 2 to 3 secondary sources, roughly. And we'll go over that in more detail throughout the coming weeks. Your descriptives are coming back this week. Again, it's going to be graded according to the rubric. And guys, the last batch, the narratives, I understand some of you had problems or you wanted clarification. Let me clarify 2 things. Number 1, I need to know about it. Okay, so if you need a point of clarification with your assignment, your essay, why'd you get the grade that you got? Tell me. Okay. Now, what you don't need to do, what I've just figured out over this past week, you don't need to email me a copy of your returned graded assignment. It turns out, do have access to the assignments that I've graded. I have a repository. Think of it, we're learning things in Blackboard still, each and every day, or at least I am. So I could view your earlier attempts, and I could actually pull the assignment and look at the assignment in question. Okay, so you don't need to submit anything to me anymore. But you do need to let me know if you have a problem. Okay, like email me, Mr. Volpe, hey, what's going on here? And those of you who have done so very politely and in a mature adult sense, and I really appreciate it. I'm more than happy to talk to you. The feedback is the rubric. Okay, there are lengthy point-by-point explanations in each column, identifying for you what an A, B, C, D, F looks like for each of the 4 criteria. So content, structure, style, language, and format. And the range is pretty extensive for each of those. Okay, so there's a lot of gradations in between. So I think the rubric is as particular and detailed as we can get, frankly, while at the same time ensuring that I can get your work back to you in a timely, reasonable time frame. Okay, so keep that in mind as well. So those descriptives are coming back this week. The descriptives tend to be an assignment on which students perform pretty well, okay? And it's worth a little more, too. It's about, I believe, 5% more than the narrative was. So, this one, in fact, is 20% of your total grade. That, coupled with the trend, as I said, seems to be students do a little better on this descriptive one. Because I don't think it's as challenging. With the narrative, you have to maintain that focus. You have to unfold events in a certain way. I think there's more to manipulate in a narrative, whereas a descriptive, just so long as you are really using those revelatory sensory images, that palette of sensory images based on the 5 senses to help your subject come to life, that is your project in a descriptive. So you're not so much involved in that extra layer of, okay, now I have to arrange in a sequence the timeline here, okay, kind of like a plot diagram, okay. You don't have to go through all the legwork of conceiving of that, but you do have to use the descriptives in a skillful, tasteful way. So we'll see how well you did that. You should always be looking at a thesaurus or a dictionary if you don't know what a word means. Don't just kind of loosely use words that you think might sound good. We're all guilty of this. I mean, as soon as 5, 7 years ago, I was doing this very same thing, guys. So I know when a word pops in your head, like, "Ooh, I want to use that," and it's like, doesn't really fit within the context of the sentence. So that's with anything. You should always have ready access to a thesaurus or a dictionary to know that your diction is as proper as it can be. Okay? So anyway, guys, just to recap. And while I'm thinking of it, the blogs are back for this week. So we do have blogs re-enabled. Contribute. Again, the well, I didn't talk about the two pieces we read. William Hazlitt on The Pleasure of Hating, which is just, it's brutal, but it's also, it's true. Let's face it, it's true. We all get that little kick, that little rush out of sustained resentment, even though it destroys us as we do it. That and, of course, A Modest Proposal, the big one there, okay? The kind of cold dispatch with which Swift's speaker unveils his plan, it is it not, rather modest, or it's framed in such a way that it comes off as modest. The rhetoric used is so skillful. The irony is so well incorporated into the piece itself that you might not know that he's being ironic or sort of darkly facetious in a way with his prescription, with his proposal. But then again, the premise of eating children is so morally repugnant and outlandish at the same time. So surely he can't be serious about this. And the way those kind of things play off of each other. Is he serious? Is he not? Oh my God, it seems like he is. He's done all these calculations. He's made all these considerations. He's got a plan in place. So when you couple that with just how ridiculous it is on its face and how morally abhorrent it is and how objectionable it is, that clash to me makes for compelling reading, and it's interesting to kind of chew over the implications of all those ideas, all those policies. Challenging pieces, 18th century Swift, 19th century Hazlitt. A lot of allusions, references, things you guys might not have been aware of, maybe other things you had to look up via Wikipedia or Britannica.com, an online encyclopedia, something of that nature. A lot of archaic word usage and construction. So why read this thing? Well, I personally believe it's really important to kind of pay homage to tradition and precedent, and these two figures are giants as essayists and rhetoricians and people of society during their respective times and in their certain literary circles, Swift and Hazlitt. So that's why I had to read it. And I think the truths are kind of eternal and reverberate even to us hundreds of years later. So I'll get to grading the discussion board. Few, if any, have contributed as of right now, Sunday, the 23rd. So please get on that by Wednesday. I'll get all the grades as best I can back to you folks. And looking forward to those essays. No research required. Your argument and persuasive essay. Continue to email me with any ideas. As far as rough drafts, again, I'm going to be a little compromised because of the amount that I have to grade again this week. If you send me in something, my best intention is to get to it and give you some feedback. Miss Evans, thankfully, is there to aid in that as well. But in any case, guys, let's have a productive week, and we are almost at the end of our first quarter here of our semester. So, before I sign off, I'll say, go Saints, not go Falcons. And go Jags, and have a great one, folks. Bye-bye.